mentioned when we spoke, this is a video series for women, and what I'm doing is I'm interviewing, I want to find out what men really want. So these are the things that men don't necessarily tell women they want, or maybe they don't tell women quite the degree of importance of certain aspects. I'm calling this What Men Really Want, honest, a keyword honest, conversations with quality men such as yourself. So yes, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is it that you really want in a woman?
It's a combination.
Okay.
I am a very visual person.
Okay.
And so good looks are quite important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that factor, I like a woman with a sense of humor, a fairly high degree of intelligence, curiosity about the world, and is compassionate.
Okay. This is a great list, fantastic list. I'm going to break it down.
Okay.
Obviously, because otherwise that would be the end of this.
Right.
And I don't want that. So let me break it down to looks. So you said she's attractive. Define what that means.
Yes. All women are attractive at some level, right? There's
It's a great thing to say. Women like you already.
a generally accepted, how would I put this? Beautiful face, okay?
What is a beautiful face?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I'm trying to think of what I would include in that. Beautiful lines, beautiful composition of features, eyes, nose, mouth.
What about
nice skin, not too much makeup. A certain elegance. I'm very much into stylish women.
Okay.
So I may be getting ahead, but it's important to me to be with women who are confident in themselves, they have a style, and they appreciate stylish things.
Okay.
So they could be the way they dress, it could be their appreciation of art, it could be their appreciation of buildings. Great city of London, there's so much to see. So have to be elegant, has a connotation of being elitist, and stylish is the term I like to use.
Stylish. Okay. Can I take back one little bit there? I just want to go back a little bit to the beautiful face and the nice skin. Now, can I just ask your age?
65.
Okay. So now, as far as women that you would consider able to achieve that, because obviously as we get older, you know, our skin is not as good as, you know, we all see it in the mirror. We just don't have that perfect skin that we did when we were, like, you know, younger. And even, like, my kids are 10, you know, they have this perfect skin when they're going to be teenagers. It won't be as good when they'll be 20s. You know, there are things that happen every kind of decade. So can a woman, you know, what ages of women would you say is within the mix?
Anywhere from my age to late 20s.
Okay, so you
It's a big range.
Right, okay, so you do accept
Absolutely.
that. Okay, so you can say... So
I think there are some spectacularly beautiful women who have style and grace in their 60s.
Even if the skin is not perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I completely agree with you. I saw a woman in the tube recently, and I just couldn't stop looking at her face.
Yeah.
I thought she was so beautiful, and I think she was probably because her daughter looked like she was probably about 50. I think the woman was at least 70 something, and I just, like, you could see it was one of these faces. She could have been an actress, you know, like a movie star from Hollywood. It was just that one of those faces just looked amazing.
Would I date Jane Fonda? Absolutely. Would I date Julianne Moore? Absolutely.
Okay.
In a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So a woman doesn't have to be 30-something.
Okay, that's brilliant.
It's nice when they are, but physically, what's more important to me is the way they look after themselves.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate, but I think a lot of women, particularly here in England, kind of let themselves go after about 45 or 50. And there's a lot of what I call sort of dumpy women.
Okay.
And
there's some dumpy women in their 20s.
It doesn't, and there certainly are. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Right.
And if we want to probe that a little bit more.
Yes, I was going to just ask you.
I was a fat kid growing up.
Okay.
So until I was 11 or 12, I was the second fattest kid in my class in grade school. There was a guy named Michael Ham, 2 M's, who was fatter. But
it's funny. Okay. Okay.
So I was very, very self-conscious growing
Right.
up. And as a result, I'm probably a little hyper-conscious about putting weight on,
Okay.
even today. And I'm very conscious about, I guess, being with women. I prefer women to be slim rather than heavy.
Okay. Can we explore the slimness? Because even in the slimness, there is this range that men seem to say. Skinny?
Not skinny. But if I had to choose from the perfect state of equilibrium, would I go towards skinnier or plumper? Probably skinnier.
Okay, so Victoria Beckham, is she like... Most people say she's too skinny.
I think she's probably a little too skinny.
Too skinny. Okay, so that's kind of our little... Okay, great. So then that's the looks. And then you mentioned elegance. Like, what you said elegant you think is elitist, so you don't want to...
Elegant sounds a little bit too... sometimes contrived.
Okay.
Sometimes women overdress.
Okay.
So a woman can dress casually, but if she has a certain style, she knows how to throw on a scarf, she can, she's got something interesting, something unusual about her that speaks style.
Okay.
That means a lot to me.
Just something about being stylish.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, women can learn. I mean, obviously some women have a better eye than others. But even, I mean, I would, some women you can learn to be more stylish. It's not something that's very difficult, but to have a flair. Okay, so that's kind of the instant...
I was dating a woman a couple of years ago who I found really quite attractive, English woman, and she was a school teacher, had amazing libido, but she showed up one night with this long skirt, and I said, "You're dressed like a schoolmarm," and that was the end of it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the long skirt somehow doesn't work.
Well, it didn't in that particular instance. It was just everything looked like it was draped on her. She looked like she could have been 30 years older than she was.
Right.
And I was a little blunt.
Right. Okay. I guess she didn't have it. Wasn't having it.
She didn't have it. No, after that it was
yeah.
It was gone.
Right, okay. That's some fun. This gets you. Okay. Alright, so that's looks. I want to understand, like, the inner qualities. You mentioned some inner qualities, which were very interesting. And I'd love to explore that further. Can we mention them again?
Sure. So, curiosity.
Curiosity.
Intelligence. Good sense of humor. And compassion.
Compassion, okay. Curiosity, intelligence, good sense of humor, compassion.
I'd say if a woman has that group of characteristics, the chances are much higher that we're going to get along well.
Okay, and then she has an eye. You
and she's got an eye,
because that's kind of an internal thing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, going back 2 spaces, let's say you're at an event, okay, and you're sitting and like there's a bunch of women. How does one woman distinguish herself in your mind versus the others? It's like, because when you're in an event, because it's kind of a small world, you sort of need to choose one. How does one woman become the chosen one, let's say?
It's a tough question. Certainly, at the outset, I'll be attracted to looks first. And then if she's not talking to somebody at the time, that also helps.
Because you'll try to talk to her.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm...
Do you need her to give you any kind of welcoming thing?
I think a smile always works.
Okay.
Right? And eye contact always works.
Okay.
So those 2 right there are sort of a green light.
Okay.
As it were.
So you want the green light from her? She's kind of...
I do, yes.
That she's approachable?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Would you approach a woman that doesn't give you the green light if you found her very attractive?
Uh, yes, I would. I would.
If the situation presented itself.
Yes.
Now, if we take you to like that, so that's a small event. If we take you now to a really big event, but everybody's available, but it's a really big event with loads and loads and loads of women, loads and loads and loads of men. This is, people are just mingling and meeting each other, but we know that everybody's available. Or, as far as they put themselves down in an available place.
Right.
Then would you still approach that woman that you find really attractive? Or would you need a green light from her first?
No, the green light would help, certainly, but it wouldn't, the absence of it wouldn't stop me.
Okay.
Depending upon what mood I'm in. If I'm in a hunter-gatherer mood, I will pursue women even if I don't get that green light.
Okay, and would you then, and this is, what always makes me curious is like, which women do men pursue? Because when I did these interviews, before I started videotaping them, and recording them, I gathered from men that there is like sort of like she's got to be somewhere between this and this. She's got to be somewhere in there, in this range. There's a range. And they don't necessarily go after the best looking woman in the room. Sometimes they won't go after the best looking woman.
Sure, sometimes they're intimidated.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
But that the woman they do go after needs to anyway be within this range.
Yeah.
So is that like, would you necessarily, when you choose to pursue, would that necessarily be the best looking woman in the room, or would it be within the range, or would it be the woman that's within the range that gives you kind of a
okay, practically speaking, would I hone in immediately on the most appealing woman to me? Not necessarily. I might find somebody who looks like they want to have a chat, and I'm happy to do that, even if I've got my eye on somebody else, just to kind of get in, break the ice, get comfortable.
Yeah, okay.
And say something nice. I try to say something nice to people.
Okay.
I find that very effective. I'll give you an interesting example. This just happened last night. I was coming home from work on a crowded bus, and a woman sat down, and she had a purse in one hand, a phone in the other hand. Well, the purse was actually on her arm, and she was clutching her keys. And I thought it was kind of curious. I was watching her because she was sitting right next to me, and she's clutching her keys and she's trying to send texts at the same time. So I just said, do you mind my asking, why are you holding on to your keys? Why don't you just put them in your pocket? And she kind of blushed a little bit, and she said, I don't know why I have to get out sometime soon, and I could tell she was accented. And we just started chatting.
Right.
She had, I couldn't help notice, she had the most beautiful hands and fingers. They were very long and slim and really attractive. And then when we started conversing, I noticed more about her, and she has beautiful eyes, lovely smile, and she's Italian, she's an architect, she works for an interior design company. We talked about Italy, where have I been.
Did you get her number?
We traded cards. I texted her last night, and she texted me back. We're going to see each other on Thursday.
Oh, right, okay, fantastic.
It's absolutely beautiful. And, if I didn't open my mouth, and a lot of people wouldn't, a lot of guys wouldn't, the world is full of possibilities every day.
That's why you have so many women. Yeah. Okay, so, for the initial conversation.
Just to add to that,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. I consider myself very observant.
Okay.
So I'll study women. I'll look at their clothing, I'll look at their shoes, look at their hands. It isn't just the obvious physical features that guys look at. But, and I find that if I compliment a woman on her shoes, it makes, the face just lights up. It just lights up.
Yeah, women like compliments.
They
That's
do.
That's a good thing to know. It's for men. Yeah.
But
When we
it's
start
also
doing
a
our
good thing
videos
for guys to know that you don't want to say something like, wow, you've got a lovely body, because that's a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
But if you just feature something like the hands or the shoes, something a little bit subtler, something that exemplifies their sense of style. They really like that.
Okay. Amazing. So, okay. So then, you had these internal qualities we talked about. What I said about the event. So the woman, if you can only take one, which one would, what kind of woman would distinguish herself to you?
That's a big question, isn't it?
What would be the first thing? Like, would the looks be the first thing and then the personality is next? Like, what takes precedence?
Well, the looks are clearly going to be the starting point. I had a friend when I was living in New York years ago. He had a spectacular looking Norwegian girlfriend, and I have to admit I did lust after her. And here's this kind of Jewish guy from New York, and he's got this beautiful girl. And he said, and he was very blunt, he said, you can tell within 10 seconds of looking at somebody whether you want to be with them or not.
Yeah.
And I do
and that's the whole speed dating
to
thing.
that.
That's
I
the whole
do
speed dating
subscribe to
idea.
that. People will surprise you. You could find an absolutely gorgeous woman who hasn't got a brain in her head,
Yeah.
or is simply out for money or whatever. Okay. And you also find women that are quite plain looking, who, upon conversation, you got some common interests, and she's a caring person, and she's a curious person. So they're going to be variations around the mean, but I do think that for the most part, you can tell immediately when you size somebody up.
That's the
visually.
whole appeal about the swoosh,
Absolutely.
About the Tinder kind of app.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so then when you think about like long-term partnerhood, obviously for short-term, you don't have to, for short-term, even if you don't fancy her exactly, depending on the situation, you might try it, or maybe she doesn't have a brain and whatever. When you think about long-term situation, what kind of woman is that?
Well, it really gets back to my constellation of qualities, right? So intelligence, curiosity, a caringness about other people, somebody who, intelligent doesn't necessarily mean educated, but often the two go together. Somebody, I like to think a lot like me.
Well, a lot like you would.
Yeah,
so loyalty isn't that important.
Well, yes, it is, but I almost assume loyalty on the part of women.
Okay, so is it part of this ecological debate of that women? Is it a double standard? Does that still hang
Definitely.
firm?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what you would
standard.
accept from yourself and from another
Yes.
man is you wouldn't accept that from a woman.
Correct.
So okay.
It seems to be it's the law of the jungle. And I don't think any one of us are powerful enough to change that. I have a view that when a woman is in a relationship, she has to fight for her man every single day. Whether it's in the kitchen, in the bedroom, on vacations, at business functions, because men are superficial in the ways we've described. They size women up physically. They have a more promiscuous libido, and they get attracted to different women, particularly in a big city like London. There are beautiful women that you come across 10 times a day. And I think a woman in a relationship, somebody she really loves and cares about and wants to keep, she has to know that. She's got to defend her man every single day.
So I completely subscribe to that. I totally agree. Like in this generation of there's something better around the corner all the time.
Absolutely.
And there's so much choice. Women do have to be better at being, at playing the role of a woman. I mean, This is what I try to go out and teach, and a lot of women would hate me for saying that, but it is, like you said, and men who are successful like yourself go on business trips and they go here and there, and they have they can find an easy excuse
Sure.
to meet somebody else.
There are women at the office, there are women
Yeah,
at airports,
women
there are women
yeah.
at conferences,
Exactly. So
there
how
are women on buses.
So is it a lost cause for us women, or
No, I don't think
is
so.
there anything we can do? Like, how do we become that woman that the man is like, okay, you can be my only one? Is that possible?
I believe it's harder than it probably was 100 years ago, generations ago. I think there's more, let's call it sexual distraction because of media, particularly in big cities, which tend to attract lots of young women who are looking for careers, or men. I do think it's harder to sustain a long-term relationship than it used to be.
Let's start from a different point of view. Let's say, what does a woman do that instantly turns a man off? You know, over the course of marriage, let's say, because you've been married before. How many
I've been
times?
married twice.
Been married twice. Okay, so both times, at some point, that marriage came to a head where you didn't want to be there anymore.
Right.
So what were those times? What does a woman do that turns a man off?
Well, I guess nagging is one.
Okay.
Constantly playing on a man's weaknesses, shortcomings.
That means pointing them out.
Yes. A lot of men recoil at the idea of a woman trying to change them.
Yeah, I think men do. And I tell women, don't bother.
And I think
men are honest.
I think it's a very tricky balance because there are some, I think most men actually welcome the opportunity to have a woman change some things about them.
Make them a better man.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
there's some things are like, oh, you know, this goes with your eyes better than that.
Yes,
But
exactly.
it's not like, you like to sit home and watch football and I want you to go to museums all the time. That's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
Right. So it's little things.
Yeah.
It's little things that make him look better.
And I think women they do have a sixth sense. I do believe in women's intuition. And I think that most women have that capability, more than men do, to understand their guy and know where certain things can be improved and certain things you just leave.
Right. So is that like feeling understood? Is that important? But that, if the man feels understood and the woman, kind of is nice with it. If she wants something, she doesn't nag. She has a nicer way to put it. Which, by the way, I do teach that when I teach women in relationships, or just starting relationships. Is that would that hold him to be more faithful?
It's too open-ended a question. It really comes down to individuals, and there are times in life. I think in every man's life they go through cycles. They go through the bonding cycle, and they go through the conscious uncoupling cycle.
Right. Okay.
And that a lot of the conventions I do believe in, such as if a guy's just out of a marriage, he's probably not going to want to get right into a new relationship, an exclusive relationship. So you have to kind of let him roam for a while if you're really interested.
Right.
And
not while you're with him, obviously.
what do you mean?
I mean.
Oh no! Obviously, a woman isn't going to put up with that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. But so getting back to what are the aspects that can maintain the relationship longer term, I think it's just being attentive and supportive and positive about their guy. And those things aren't very difficult, really.
And so you mentioned she needs to be loyal. She needs to be just about the one.
Yes. Is it
even in the
50-50? No. I honestly think that in relationships, women give a bit more than men do. So maybe it's 65-35. You pick the ratio, but I do think that women, guys expect women to do that, and women are fundamentally, it's in their DNA to do that.
What do you mean give more?
Make more of an effort
Okay.
around the relationship.
Okay.
Do things that he likes to do, please him in different ways, not nagging, but suggesting just be more conscious about their man and the relationship. Sometimes we'll be with a woman and say, you know, if she could have her expectations surgically removed, she would be ideal.
Okay, explain that expectations thing.
It's like you go out with a woman once or twice and you say, hey, how about getting together next weekend? And 2 or 3 days go by, and then you get this long email saying, well, I've been thinking a lot all weekend long about our relationship, and I just know that it is finished right there. It's like women tend to put so much thought and analysis, and they can't help but avoid their own expectations in reviewing the early stages of a dating relationship. That can be a real turn-off to a guy.
Anything else you want to share with women, just to leave them with? Any kind of message?
Don't try so hard.